you actually get told you are Aquaman?
I just found it September 23rd, 2013. And I was literally broke.
On screen, Jason Momoa is the King of Atlantis, a beloved hero with a $40 million empire. But in 2023, the world discovered a disturbing secret. The man with the mansion was homeless, living out of a van. That bizarre story was just a smokescreen for something even darker. When a therapist's notes from the set of Aquaman 2 were leaked during a trial, they painted a picture of a star, allegedly showing up drunk and trying to get his co-star fired. Suddenly, the hero looked like a liability. How did it all go so wrong? To understand the crisis that threatened to shatter his career, you have to understand the carefully guarded secret of the man himself, the lifelong outsider who built an empire and the demons that came with it. The outsider's ascent. Before he was a king of Atlantis, he was an outsider who didn't belong anywhere, a wound that would define his entire life. Born in Honolulu in 1979, Jason Momoa's world fell apart before he could even speak. His parents divorced when he was just 6 months old, and his mother took him from the shores of Hawaii to a small, predominantly white town in Iowa. He was an outcast from day one. His skin was darker, his features more Hawaiian, and the local kids never let him forget it. He was bullied, called a freak, and stuffed into lockers for being different. But when he visited his father's family in Hawaii during the summers, he was rejected there too, called holy, a word for outsiders. He was stuck between two worlds, belonging fully to neither. This deep-seated feeling of being an outsider ignited a ferocious drive to prove he belonged somewhere, anywhere. That desperation became his secret weapon. In 1998, at age 19, he was working in a surf shop when he heard a radio ad for a Baywatch Hawaii audition. He waited in line for 7 hours with over 2,000 other hopefuls. He had no agent, no resume, and no experience. So he created a persona on the spot. He told the casting directors he had modeled for Louis Vuitton and other top brands. It was a complete lie, but it worked. He got the part. This early success established a dangerous pattern. Creating a fictional character was his key to survival. But while the ticking time bomb of his lie had paid off, the victory was short-lived. When Baywatch ended in 2001, the role that made him famous became a cage. No agent would sign him. The industry saw him as a joke, not a serious actor. For the next 4 years, he was broke, sleeping on friends' couches, and drowning in debt. He hit rock bottom, so crushed by failure, he almost quit acting to go back to school for wildlife biology. While the world saw a rising star on shows like Stargate Atlantis, behind the scenes, a darker side was emerging. He joined the show in 2005, telling producers he didn't want stunt doubles and would learn everything himself. The problem was, he had zero martial arts training. He pushed his body to the breaking point, once bruising his ribs so badly he could barely breathe, but kept it a secret for fear of losing the role. His intensity bordered on dangerous. During one grueling 14-hour shoot, he refused padding and skipped breaks until he collapsed from exhaustion and passed out for real. Paramedics were called and the set was shut down for 2 days. A shadow was growing over his reputation. He fought relentlessly with the writers, arguing that they were watering down his character and threatening to quit. His wild offset lifestyle began to bleed into his work. He would party and game all night, showing up to set tired and hungover, forcing multiple takes to finish simple scenes. It got so bad that the crew had to change shooting schedules just to work around him, costing the production nearly $50,000 in overtime. It was a clear warning sign of the chaos to come, and it only stopped when his new girlfriend, Lisa Bonet, gave him an ultimatum: change or lose everything. His breakthrough as Khal Drogo in Game of Thrones cemented his image as a powerful warrior, but it also blurred the lines between the man and the character. He landed the role with a terrifying haka performance that stunned casting directors. But on set, his intensity once again went too far. In 2011, he acted out an unscripted rage scene that resulted in him breaking a stuntman's arm, halting production. He later admitted to suffering from what he called PTSD dreams, nightmares where he couldn't tell if he was still the violent warlord he played on screen. The fame was immense, but the public image was a lie. While the world saw him as a king, he was still completely broke. He was so poor after his character was killed off that he couldn't afford a plane ticket home and ended up renting a U-Haul van to drive around Ireland. This crushing financial desperation, hidden behind a global icon's face, would haunt him for years, pushing him toward the one role that would give him everything he ever wanted and everything to lose. The king without a kingdom. At the absolute peak of his power, with a billion-dollar franchise in his name, the carefully built walls around Jason Momoa's life finally came crashing down. The 2018 release of Aquaman changed everything. After years of struggle, debt, and desperation, Momoa wasn't just a star, he was a global phenomenon. The movie shocked everyone by making over $1.15–2 billion worldwide, cementing him as an undisputed A-list superstar. He had finally escaped the shadow of Khal Drogo and the curse of being broke. His public image was flawless. He was the charming, goofy, family-friendly hero who brought his kids to premieres and championed environmental causes. He had a beautiful, famously private family with his longtime partner, Lisa Bonet, whom he'd quietly married in 2017. With a net worth climbing to an estimated $40 million, he had the mansion, the career, and the adoring fans. On the surface, the outsider from Iowa had finally found his kingdom. He had everything he had ever fought for. But the perfection was an illusion, a masterfully crafted performance for the cameras. The first crack in the facade appeared in January 2024, when the world learned that he and Lisa Bonet had divorced. The real shock was in the court documents. They revealed the couple had secretly separated on October 7, 2020, over 3 years earlier, and had kept it hidden from the public the entire time. Then came the truly bizarre revelation. In 2023, fans discovered something disturbing. Jason Momoa, the multi-millionaire star of a billion-dollar franchise, was houseless. He wasn't living in his mansion. He was living out of a custom Ford F-150 camper van, a luxury vehicle worth an estimated $750,000, parked in a friend's yard down the road from the family home he no longer occupied. He told interviewers it was his choice, a way to stay grounded and close to nature. But the timing, right after his separation went public, suggested a man adrift, a king without a castle. The strange story of his van life was just the beginning. A much darker storm was brewing. During Amber Heard's explosive 2023 trial, private notes from her therapist, Dr. Dawn Hughes, were unsealed and made public. They contained shocking allegations about Momoa's behavior on the set of Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom back in 2021. The notes claimed Jason showed up to set drunk, dressed like Johnny Depp, and was pushing to have Amber Heard fired from the movie. Suddenly, his fun-loving, beer-drinking persona looked less like a charming quirk and more like a serious problem. Warner Brothers fiercely denied the claims, stating Momoa was always professional, but the damage was done. The accusations didn't stop there. As if on cue, another story surfaced from a different set. In September 2024, the popular YouTuber and streamer Valkyrie revealed that, while filming a cameo for the upcoming Minecraft movie, she witnessed Momoa screaming at crew members late one night. She described the incident as hard to watch. And when the story exploded online, a twist emerged. Insiders began whispering that when the movie was released in 2025, Valkyrie's cameo was completely gone, allegedly cut as punishment for speaking out. Suddenly, Jason Momoa wasn't just an eccentric star living in a van. He was a man facing a pattern of serious accusations of on-set misconduct and unprofessionalism. The hashtag #JakaMeToo began trending, a grim reference to his own brand of justice. The public's memory is long, and people immediately connected these new claims to his most infamous public blunder. They dug up the clip from a 2011 Game of Thrones panel where he joked that the best part about working on the show was that he got to rape beautiful women. He had apologized years ago, but now the words felt different. They weren't just a tasteless joke anymore. They were part of a disturbing pattern. The easygoing, heroic image he and the studio had spent a decade and hundreds of millions of dollars building was on the verge of total collapse. The king had lost his kingdom, and now he was about to lose his crown. The fallout and the facade. As the scandals erupted, the world watched to see if the king would fall, but Jason Momoa's response revealed more than any accusation ever could. With his billion-dollar franchise on the line, the studio machine kicked into high gear. Warner Brothers immediately went into defense mode, issuing generic corporate statements that Jason was always professional on set, a flat denial that directly contradicted the detailed therapist's notes and the eyewitness account from Valkyrie. The strategy was clear: protect the asset, deny everything, and hope the storm passed. Momoa himself remained strategically silent on the specific allegations. He never addressed the claims of showing up drunk or screaming at the crew. Instead, he executed a masterful pivot. He took control of the one story he could spin: his van life. He began rebranding what looked like a personal crisis into a spiritual choice. He gave interviews about his desire to escape the pressures of Hollywood, to be closer to nature, to live a simpler life. The narrative was no longer about a man who couldn't go home. It was about a free spirit who chose not to. It was a brilliant performance, an attempt to rewrite the story of a man adrift into the legend of a man unchained. The public was deeply and immediately divided. The media firestorm was relentless. On one side, his legions of loyal fans bought the new narrative completely. They saw him as a modern-day wanderer, a genuine soul rejecting the plastic phoniness of celebrity culture. They flooded social media with messages of support, admiring his courage to live authentically. But on the other side, the criticism was brutal. Critics and commentators slammed his story as performative homelessness, the ultimate hypocrisy from a man worth $40 million. They pointed out that his van was a $500,000 luxury vehicle with a king-sized bed, a full kitchen, and a shower, a rolling mansion that was nicer than most people's apartments. The scandals from the Aquaman 2 and Minecraft sets were reported everywhere, casting a long, dark shadow over his once pristine, easygoing image. For the first time, audiences were being forced to reconsider the man behind the hero, and many didn't like what they saw. While his career didn't stop, the controversies began to take a toll. The halo was gone. His passion project, a historical drama for Apple TV, plus called Chief of War, became plagued with problems. With a colossal reported budget of over $340 million, the show was meant to be his magnum opus, a tribute to his Hawaiian heritage. But it was soon mired in budget fights and controversy. Filming was paused, and a decision was made to leave Hawaii and finish shooting in New Zealand. The move sparked outrage among many native Hawaiians, who felt their sacred story was being outsourced and disrespected. Meanwhile, another project, a road trip comedy called Animal Friends with Ryan Reynolds, started getting delayed. The film, which was part animation and part live action, was reportedly full of raw and dirty humor. Insiders whispered that the studio was panicking. With Momoa's family-friendly image now fractured, they were terrified of releasing a film that could damage it even further. The king was still working, but his crown was tarnished, and the walls of his kingdom were closing in. Then, in the midst of this chaos, a final, stunning detail emerged that exposed the deep contradiction at the heart of his persona. While his character was being publicly dismantled, Jason Momoa made two powerful announcements. He quietly revealed that he had made a massive, $12 million personal donation to a fund dedicated to protecting native Hawaiian lands from developers. At the same time, he leaned heavily into his official role as a UN advocate for life below water, highlighting his company's work in cleaning the oceans. It was a move that was both genuinely impactful and perfectly timed. Was this the real Jason Momoa, a committed activist using his fortune for good? Or was it another masterful performance from a man who learned long ago, as a desperate kid in an audition room, that creating a character was the ultimate tool for survival? The world was left to wonder, caught between the hero on the screen and the complicated, contradictory man living in the van. In the end, Jason Momoa's story isn't about a mansion. It's about a king who abandoned his kingdom. The image of a beloved hero living in a luxury van wasn't just a bizarre headline, it was a window into a life in chaos. While he sold a story of freedom, leaked therapist notes, and explosive on-set accusations painted a much darker picture of a star struggling with his own demons. The man who spent his life feeling like an outsider finally had everything, yet chose to walk away from it all. So, what's the real story? Is Momoa a misunderstood free spirit crushed by the pressures of fame? or a brilliant actor whose greatest performance is the man he pretends to be for the world? Drop your verdict in the comments below. And if this incredible story of survival and resilience touched you, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more hidden stories of Hollywood's greatest legends.